Welcome back, everybody, to the final quarter of 2023 here in 2024. These are always like the odd one out because like everybody's looking so far into the future, and we've already done our top albums of the year, so like there's probably not going to be too many surprises here. But this allows us to look back at the last 3 months and say what our favorite records are at that time, those that surprised us and those that disappointed us. And then we can finish this all off with those that we're most looking forward to. One of which I know just dropped yesterday on the time of recording. But we can all get to that. Let's do like a quick introduction for anybody that this is their first video of the round table. I think we'll start on my left, your right for Travis, and then we'll go across the wheel. So Travis, why don't you introduce yourself?
Take off, you hosers. I'm Travis from the Long Words with Song Words YouTube channel. I also make music under the name Borealia. You can find us on Spotify, Apple Music, all the streaming services. And yeah. Hey.
Amazing. Welcome back. Nathan.
Yes, I'm Nathan from the channel Nathan on Shuffle. I do all kinds of videos on the channel, prog focused, do reviews, talk about classic prog, do like a weekly news roundup and reactions with my wife to prog music that she hasn't heard before. So just a whole bunch of fun on there.
Amazing. Ian.
Hello there, everybody from the other side of the pond. My name is Ian. I run a little channel called Rhyme Signatures. Apparently, I've got a cough in my throat at the moment as well. The cough is completely free there. And I mostly, like the rest of my fellow people here, do a lot of YouTube reviews about new prog music. I've got a bit of a focus more on the metal side of things myself personally, so I like to bring that sort of angle to my things, and like the dark, the dank, the evil, the heavy, but I love the light stuff as well. Kind of a bit of both, but more of a leaning towards the darker edge of things. Having a lot of fun with it. Looking forward to starting, I believe this is my third year doing this, I think. Yeah, I've done 2 years before this, and this is my third year, so I'm having a great time, loving the opportunity to be on these, so thanks for having me on, guys.
Amazing. Yeah, I'm so glad that I'm not the only one that could come on here and start gushing about like Amun and have somebody else be like, oh yeah, I know who that is.
Yeah.
So that's great. And we'll finish this off with Brent.
Hey everybody, I'm Brent. I'm from the Similitude of Prog, and I'm pretty much like everybody else here. I do prog reviews and anything to do with prog. And that about sums it up.
Short and sweet. Great.
Yeah.
So let's dive into our favorite record released between October, November, and December of 2023. And I don't want to speak for everybody, but I think just as a quick roundtable of Him Lay Back in Volume 2 from Moon Safari, at least in my mind, I can't think of a better album that was released, but I'm going to open up the floor to see if anybody has an album that they enjoyed better, and this will probably be like the runners up, but it looks like Travis has a better one. So Travis, what was better than Him Lay Back in Volume 2?
For me, I have to go with the debut album from the supergroup Temic, Terror Management Theory. Yeah, I really enjoyed that record. I know a couple of us were a little... the first couple times we listened to it, it was a little in one ear, out the other, and even I wasn't really all that taken with the first single from it, but the first time I listened to the album through, I was like, this is some seriously good progressive metal. I really like that it's got a good solid mix of, modern dark progressive elements, kind of like what you would find in like Leprous and bands like that, but there's still a very solid foundation of like the classic progressive metal of bands like Dream Theater, Pain of Salvation. It's just a really good mix. The vocals, I can see how some people might be a little like iffy on them, but it wasn't a problem for me. I really enjoyed the vocal work. The guitar work is brilliant because it's Eric Gillette. The keyboard work is brilliant because it's Diego Tejeda. It's just a great record. I keep coming back to it, so I think that one's my favorite of the quarter so far.
Okay,
I think the vocalist fits that album very well.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, absolutely. Couldn't agree more with that. My little hot take on the whole Temic Terror Management Theory thing it's better than Fauna. Like, if we're
I
going to
agree.
take projects of like
Yes.
people who've been involved with Haken at any point in their lives, obviously Diego's got the whole like keyboardist of Haken thing, and then he was not, and they got Peter Jones back, which is great. But I feel that Fauna, I'll get into that another time, I'm sure. But for me, Fauna was a fine record. It's very, very good. But I just felt Terror Management Theory by Temic was doing a little bit more, something a bit different, something a little bit proggier, if we want to get technical about it, than what Haken were doing, which I felt was kind of a rote album. It felt like they're sort of like, we're Haken, we have our sound, we are established, we're just going to keep doing that, which is fine. But I felt Temic was doing something a little bit more with what prog metal's capable of these days, whilst not losing sight of what brought them to that point.
Absolutely.
And I really appreciate them for that.
It kind of goes to one of the comments that I kind of had about a couple other albums that came out this year as well, like including Temic, but also No Spoon, that there's bands that are right now, they're out Hakening Haken. And yeah, Temic is one of them. Although I will say, I really enjoyed Fauna. I didn't really care for it for most of the year, but I came back to it in this last quarter, and it's really started to grow on me, Fauna. So I don't mean to disrespect that album in any way, but
Yeah, I'm in a very similar boat in that like I enjoyed Temic more than I enjoyed the Haken album, but I will always champion a band that would change up their sound while still maintaining what makes them special, rather than them just coming out with like Visions Part 2 or The Mountain Part 2, right? And I loved No Spoon, but I'm excited for them to grow past their influences. And again, I loved Opus just as much, if not more, than both of those other albums. But I'm also, if they put out another album that's just like Opus, I'd be like, oh, I want to hear something new, right? But yeah, so I think we all agree that Temic was a brilliant album. I will be talking about Temic in a little bit. But yeah, so for the rest of us, which album was their second favorite record of the of the quarter?
Because, it's the most diplomatic way of putting it.
Yeah, I just didn't want us all to be like, oh, it was Moon Safari. It was Moon Safari.
For the
like,
record,
yes, it was.
For the record, I loved the Moon Safari record, and I'm a very recent convert to the band. Thank you guys.
Hey,
but yeah,
I
genuinely enjoyed that record too, so it's up there for me.
Yeah. So yeah, who wants to go? Well, let's shine a little bit of a light on the Moon Safari Himmler Back in Volume 2, because I think like a lot of albums we were waiting in anticipation for, and I can really only name maybe like one or two other albums that I had so much anticipation for, and it exceeded that expectation. Like the expectation was huge, and then it further exceeded it. Like the only other one I can think of that came to this level was like Infernal from Fido, where we're following up and concluding a trilogy of records that one of the albums from the trilogy is one of my favorite albums of all time. And so the expectation was huge, and yet it exceeded it. So yeah, like that was very similar to this one. I think this is in their top 3 albums for me. I love it from start to finish. I think I like it more than say like Lover's End or the first Himmler Backen. There might be songs from both of those albums that I really, really enjoy and might enjoy more than maybe any individual tracks off of this record. But from start to finish, in terms of a solid record, absolutely superb. Absolutely superb. So yeah, what did you guys think about this?
Yeah, I totally adore it. It's obviously my favorite of the quarter. But I just have always been a huge fan of Moon Safari. I love their like vocal harmonies are just like top notch, like one of the best in the business. And I love the epic. I think they did the best prog epic of the year, just showcasing some new sounds and some new styles to their typical symphonic prog kind of thing, adding little bits of like a heavier edge at times, especially in the guitars and things. So to me, like it's been said, it's kind of the perfect example of embracing what everyone loved about them already, but adding a little bit of new flavor just to add something a little bit different to catch your ear and bring a bit of a new flavor. So I just thought it was a great release and just, yeah, far exceeded everything I was hoping for with it.
Yeah, I found it a bit of an interesting lead up to this one personally because in my own head, I know they've only got like what had 4 records before this, and this being their 5th. I've always maintained for a long time now that Himmelbarken Volume One was their weakest record,
I would agree.
and I will go down on record as saying that. So the more I got excited about Himmelbarken Volume Two, the more I thought, hang on a minute, Volume One was kind of their worst record for me. So why is my hype level so high for this? And I kept thinking to myself, because it's been 10 years since you've last heard of Moon Safari, you fool. You know, it's like that was obviously why I was so excited for it. But I started to temper my expectations for it, thinking, just don't get too hyped, don't get too hyped. I know there's a 20+ minute epic on it, but this is still a sequel to Volume 1, which was your weakest of the records. When it came out, I was like, forget everything I've just been said about that. The hype's real, the hype is here. Everything about it was brilliant for me. I love the influences from a slightly more metal edge that they've brought into it without losing sight and focus of what brought them as a band to where they are at this point in their lives. It felt like the 10 years that have passed since Volume 1 allowed the band to really mature upon themselves, to really reflect as to who they are as people now in their lives, and to allow that to speak through the music that they've created for this record. You know, some of them weren't parents before the this record was finished, and it really feels like there's a maturity and depth of I don't know, a depth of character and flavor that's really been brought into the album from the change that's gone through their lives. And I've always maintained, like, if you are going to have such a gap between records, you can't assume that your fan base is going to be the same people that they were when you last spoke to them through your music. You know, I would have been in my like mid to late 20s when Himmelbarken Volume 1 came out. I'm now approaching the big 4-0. So I feel like I'm a different person, and I feel the music has evolved with me rather than it staying stagnant as to where it used to be before they brought this record out. And I really appreciate that from the band. Absolutely, hands down, my favorite Moon Safari release, even if that is just the honeymoon period speaking. I don't care. It was brilliant. I love it. One of the most exciting things I've heard in ages. And I keep coming back to it. I can't leave it alone, you know.
Yeah.
No, it's a great album for sure.
And I mean, I'm coming at it from a completely unique perspective among the 5 of us in that I'm a new fan. I never heard Moon Safari before this year, and you know, kind of being able to sort of compare my first impressions with an album like Lover's End to Himmelbarken Volume 2 in the here and now. Even I can kind of see the progression in the band, like, you know, having a bit more of a darker, heavier kind of element on Himmelbarken 2. But, you know, that the foundational core of the band's sound, that those sweet vocal harmonies, the, you know, amazing interplay between all the instruments is still there. And yeah, I fell in love with it on first listen too. Although I do wish the 80s influence, like I'm not really that familiar with the band before this, but I wish that 80s influence extended through the whole record, because those first 2 tracks, oh my God, I can't get enough of them.
That's fair. The one thing that I kind of realized how good this album was like how many of us had it as the #1 album of the year. You know, I know it's more than one,
Yeah.
and it is in my top 3. Like it was my #3 album. So like that kind of goes to show how great this album was. So that being said, let's talk about those records that weren't Volume 2 that we loved. Let's start with Nathan. Nathan, what was the best album outside of Himmelbarken Volume 2?
All right. So for me, it was the Advent Horizon record. It's A Cell to Call Home. One that I really loved. That kind of came out of nowhere for me. It's a band I hadn't heard of before, but I'd come across one of their singles online, and I reached out to the band and was so excited about it, and they were able to send me an early copy. So it was really fun to be able to interact with the band and to be able to hear this record and just really fall in love with it. I just think it's really consistent all the way through. It's a good blend of like that classic prog sound, but modernized a bit, and you know, maybe has a bit of a Rush flavor, maybe has a bit of like classic prog, like Yes flavor. Maybe has a little bit of a metal edge, even like a Haken kind of flavor at points. So it brings together all these influences that I love and focuses a lot on the melody and the songwriting first, and you know, it I love the vocals. I love the instrumentation. I think it's just a really solid record all the way through that has just so many great moments and so many great songs that I just keep coming back to.
And like they were able to bring in some powerhouses to help them out with this.
Yeah.
Like I think the track "Calling It Off" has Jordan Rudess on it, and
Yep.
one of the best solos I've heard from him in a very long time.
Yeah. Yeah,
Okay,
that was exciting.
I'm just adding this to my Spotify.
It's a good record.
And listen
It is
to it
very
later.
good.
I haven't heard this one yet, and yeah, you got Jordan Rudess on there. I'm in.
For me, it's definitely one that passed the if Nathan's recommended it, I'm probably gonna like it litmus test, because honestly, I will say now, this last year, 2023, Nathan's recommendations to our little group have been nothing short of absolute fire. Like,
Definitely.
it's gotten to the point now where, like, if Nathan's like, "Hey, you guys check this out," I'm like, "Okay, I'm stopping whatever I'm listening. I'm gonna click that," because you
Yeah.
know he's got me down pat. He knows exactly what I like, and that's very, very cool. And you were absolutely spot on with Advent Horizon. It's a great record. I absolutely love it. Really, really strong. My only regret is the last sort of quarter has been so stacked. I just haven't had enough time to spend with it as I would have liked to do. But as we've been in this sort of like, what the hell, when are the new releases starting period of 2024, I've been finding myself like going back to some of these releases, and I have been checking this one out a lot more, and it's just grown on me so much, and it's just an absolutely stellar release. I 100% love it and cannot recommend it enough to people.
Yeah, it reminds me, like with Nathan's recommendation, it reminds me of here in Canada in Indigo Chapters and Coles. There's the Heather's Pick. And it's like the certified, this book is going to be good. And if you don't like it, you can return it at free of cost. And I feel like that's our Prog community's Heather pick is Nathan's pick.
Yeah, it totally is.
Nice.
Oh, boy.
I'll have
I'm
to
on
check
it.
that one out.
Yeah,
I
it's
think you
very
really
good.
dig it, Brent. Yeah, I
I
think you
really
dig
like
it a
it.
lot.
Cool. Ian, which was your runner-up?
Ooh. My runner-up is actually one of the ones on the wall of Nathan's recording area,
I
which
know
we
which
haven't
one it
talked
is.
about yet. So I think the clever ones of those of you who know me well enough can probably figure out that it is in fact "Let the Truth Speak" by Earthside. Phenomenal record, absolutely phenomenal. I placed this pretty high in my overall top records of the year. I can't remember the exact positioning, but it was very high. I remember that much. It was at number. Oh god, I've got the wrong list open. That's really embarrassing. Where is it? Number 4. It was at number 4. So it was a top 5 contender for me. 100% adore this record. I was a massive fan of Earthside when they released A Dream in Static, like ages and ages and ages ago. I think it was like 2015, something like that. Not quite 10 years ago, but a long time ago. And obviously they are ostensibly an instrumental band, but they bring in a lot of guest vocalists to sort of round out the duties for that particular side of things. And that's not really changed with this new record, but I do feel that the band have really matured in terms of what they are capable of bringing to the table. This feels like the antithesis of the awkward sophomore release. This feels like the band has fully realized their own abilities, come into their own, and spent the last 8 years or whatever it is really sort of creating and crafting the most perfect representation of themselves through their music, and really just belting it out there. You've got so much variety of sound on here. You've got these big atmospheric soundscapes. You've got the weird, jazzy, off-kilter stuff, which we come to love from Prog so much, with a lot off, like what the hell's going on, instrumentation, stuff like that. You've got the grandiose sort of chugga-dug, genty stuff going on. You've got all the down-tuned pounding of guitars. You've got these big cinematic moments of orchestrated stuff. It's just such a great record. From start to finish, no one track is alike. It all manages to blend itself together into this incredible hodgepodge of everything I've come to expect and love from progressive metal, and it just absolutely flourished for me. Loved it so much, and the only reason it didn't place any higher was because everything about it was ever slightly better. But in terms of like this quarter, if you just remove Moon Safari out of the equation, then Earthside is just so far ahead, in like metric leagues ahead of everything else that I've listened to this quarter. That is just, there was no contest for me. Absolutely 100% number one pick for me.
Yeah, I was hesitant because, oh, Travis, you might have to help me here. There was an instrumental prog band that was mainly in Gent that released an album that had vocals for the first time, and it was a guest vocal for almost every other song.
Scale the
Got it.
Summit.
Thank you. Scale the Summit.
Oh,
Thank
yes.
you. They put out an album, was it last year or the year before? That was the first time that they had vocals on it. And
I
like
think it was last year.
Yeah, that sounds about right. And it
Yeah.
was fine. It was good, but like it didn't quite drive with me as much as some of their past albums. And I was afraid that with Earthside, it would have that same kind of effect because I'd seen them live. I think I saw them open up for Leprous. And as an instrumental band, just brilliant. Love their music. But it just felt like I was afraid that each of these songs would be a feature presentation of whatever singer they had going on. And instead, it was more of a no, you're going to be the little dash of flavor to help us out. And yeah, it was a very cinematic album, and I absolutely loved it.
I have to admit, I'm having trouble getting into the record. And that's weird because it ticks a lot of my boxes. I'm a big fan of like the sort of modern genty metal kind of stuff, and I don't know. There's something about this Earthside record that's not letting me get into it as quickly as I'd like to, but I do keep returning to it, hoping that I'm going to get something more out of it, and maybe one of these listens it'll click. But maybe I
Yeah,
kind
and
of
that's
feel
how
the
I feel
same way
about
as you,
Fauna.
like
Yeah.
as you, like with the instrumental stuff. I really like that, and then when there's too many guest vocals, it kind of feels like all right, we can't hold our own, so here's someone more famous to give us a little bit of a. But
Right.
yeah, and I mean, I also kind of felt a little put off by Scale to Summit doing it, which is why the instrumental version of that record is so much better.
Right.
So I don't know. I'm gonna have to give Earthside another chance though, because I know, like I said, it ticks so many boxes for me.
It's one of those weird things though. Sometimes, like you can have something which is on paper completely perfect and everything makes sense, but in practice it just doesn't work, and that's fine. If it doesn't work for you, that's don't feel like you have to make it work.
Exactly. Yeah.
Of course.
Brent, what was one that rose to the top for you?
Actually, my number one album, never mind 10 years, let's try 28.
Oh, I know what this is.
Yeah.
Yeah, there it is.
Gabriel I.O.
Yes.
So that was easily my number one.
Yeah.
But this would be
Oh,
very close to being a number one that you probably couldn't measure it with any known device.
Yeah.
So we'll leave it at that.
Yeah, absolutely. I.O. was such a
For
treat.
both these bands, I hope we don't have to wait a certain amount of lengthy time before they release anything else.
Well, I don't like I want Peter Gabriel to live forever. I don't think he has another 20 years in him. You
I
know?
don't think so.
Seems unlikely.
I would love to see him release something in 20 years, but I also hope that there's much more between then and now.
Yes,
Exactly.
I've just thoroughly enjoyed the fact that Roger Waters has released an album which has been kind of panned by most people, and then Peter Gabriel goes, "Sit down, I'll show you how it's done." And he's just like, "I got this." I'm the old prog god here, and we will listen to IO, and we will not listen to whatever the heck you've done because it ain't good.
Yeah. Well, that's true.
I think speaking of Roger Waters, kind of in the same vein as Himmelbach in Volume 2, I think when we get into the disappointments part, we can all agree Dark Side Redux is
yeah.
Let's get something clear here. In order for something to be a disappointment, I had to have expectations from it in the first place.
That is true. That was my caveat for that. I'm like, there had to have been at least an expectation of hoping that it would be good. There was no expectation for that record.
Nope.
Oh boy. So yeah, I'll round out this section. My favorite was from a band called Green Lung, and their album of This Heathen Land. It made my top 5 of the year. It's in my mind, it's the spiritual successor to a lot of the things that Ghost is doing, but in the style of music that I want to hear Ghost doing. Like as much as I loved Imperia from Ghost, Impera, thank you, as well as Prequel. I enjoyed both of those albums, but I do feel as if they were a little bit of a sidestep rather than a progression. And in some cases it was an equal sidestep, and in other cases it was a step backwards. I'll let you guys figure out which one was which. But Green Lung, This Heathen Land, was a step forward. It incorporates that fun, occultish, like acid rock that we got from the 70s from bands like Black Sabbath, but incorporates a very fun keyboard and guitar aspect that almost like a neo-prog would do. And I love that very tongue-in-cheek occultism that they like to infuse within a lot of their tracks. I feel as if Ghost has kind of left off the wayside now that they're a little bit more popular. So yeah, this album was an absolute delight, and I recognize that it's maybe not everybody's taste, but it 100% was mine. So yeah,
Love this record. It is
it's
so good. It is,
yeah.
like Notes has said, it's everything I wanted Ghost to be after Prequel. Because Imperial left me cold, I'll be real with you. There's a couple of good tracks on it, but as a by and large, I was like, eh. And then Green Longest is like, hold my beer, we got this. It's like, we've got druidism, we've got weird sort of crazy stuff in ancient Albion and all that stuff. When I picked up the vinyl and it comes with that like little insert with a little map of Albion, where it's the UK, but it's made to look like an old tour guide with all the like printed creased folds on it. I was like, that's the coolest thing ever. I love that. It's such a nice little attention to detail. It's a killer record, full of so many great riffs, so many great vocal hooks, so many good melodies. Oh, it's just, it is chef kiss brilliant. It'll get stuck in your head for weeks. It's so good.
Yeah. The 1-2 punch of Maxine and Feast on Sorrow just
amazing.
Leaves you wanting more. Has anybody else listened to Green Lung, or is it just
I'm putting it in a check mark on Spotify for later.
Yeah, I think everybody can find something really fun in this one. So we can go really quickly if anybody has any kind of like other albums that were really good. I know for me it was I.O. and King Gizzard's Silver Cord. Both versions of the record were just fantastic, and I loved. And that's in both camps too, because both released 2 versions of their records. One was just a different mixing, and the other one was an extended version. So yeah, this quarter was definitely the 2 for the price of 1 package for a lot of records. Was there any other records that wanted to race to the top of the list that wasn't necessarily a surprise or like a disappointment? Oh, I'm not familiar with that one. Brent, what is that one?
That's Theocracy and their album Mosaic. Very, very good.
I didn't check that one out.
I didn't realize they had a new record out.
Yeah.
Oh, I like
First in
Theocracy.
like
They're really
7
good.
years. It is really good.
I'll have to look into that one.
So this is why I do this. It's not necessarily to share, it's to receive.
I see what you missed. Yeah,
exactly.
I think for me, like the other one I really want to spotlight, which hasn't been talked about yet, is American Gothic's Wayfarer, which is a black metal album with a real sort of heavy kind of Americana / Native American influence going on. It's like a Black Braid 2 was going to be my favorite black metal release of 2023 until Wayfarer came out. And it's got that sort of real sort of Western twang to it all. And oh God, it is so good. It's got enough sort of different stuff going on, because obviously you've got your Nordic black metals and stuff like that, your Icelandic black metals, got this very wintry feeling to them. This has the sort of feeling of a black and white cowboy detective mystery going on to it, and I absolutely love it. It's incredibly good, and if you've got even like the slightest interest in that kind of music, it's likely to absolutely just body you. It's so amazing. I love it.
I'm going to check that out, because I haven't checked that one out yet. So
I think you'll dig it.
I'm going to check that one out after this.
A couple for me. I it's right up my lane, is the Pattern Seeking Animals record, Spooky Action at a Distance. I think it's just right in line with the other records they've produced. It's just that same style, but done really well. And I really liked the new District 97 album, Stay for the Ending, which
I got to hear that one still.
Yeah, really
good.
Cool stuff. Female fronted, has a little bit of like maybe a King Crimson-esque kind of quality to it, but really cool modern prog metal stuff that just really was fun to listen to.
Yeah, one of my favorite concerts that I went to was when District 98, 97, 98?
97.
97, thank you, Iian.
That was the show we met.
That was, they opened up for
Pain of Salvation.
For Pain of Salvation. That was the one where Pain of Salvation unfortunately had
97.
all the sound issues. But yeah, I got to hang out with the band and chat with them while the sound issues were going on. Unfortunately for Pain of Salvation, but
memories
live, they were phenomenal.
Oh, they were absolutely.
Cool. Let's move on to those disappointments. I like a little bit of the Oreo cookie here. You got the best, you got the most surprising, and then right in the middle you got some disappointments here.
That's not how Oreos usually work.
That's true. The white stuff is
Flavor.
usually the best part. And in some cases, some people would say this is the best part of the video, where people get to, stretch their legs a little bit in terms of the ranting and raving rather than the lifting up, let's just does anybody have any very strong feelings? I know we already touched a little bit upon the Roger Waters record, but again, I want to mirror that. You have to have some kind of an expectation for that to be a disappointment, because that's what makes this a disappointment. It's like we were hoping for more and it just didn't quite deliver.
I have a very specific one.
Okay.
The King Gizzard, the Silver Cord, but the extended versions.
Okay.
The standard versions, I love the standard versions. I'll jam that record any day, but the extended ones, I just didn't get into them. It felt too much like they were trying to go for this, like, we've heard Kraftwerk for the first time in our lives, and we're gonna do 20-minute extended jams that stay in one sort of, like, one riff or one key the whole time. It just never really felt like the record was moving during those jam sessions. And I guess it's because I came from the standard versions, and then when I finally listened to the extended ones, I was just bored more than anything.
Fair. Yeah,
but
I can definitely hear Autobahn on these tracks and being we're going to just stay in our lane rather than move around in it.
But I do get why a lot of people love the extended versions. It just isn't for me.
That's fair. I'm very similar in that I will listen to the standard edition over the extended edition, but there's a charm to the extended edition in that, like, it really allows it to stretch their legs. Like, what I will say is I prefer the individual tracks on the extended edition, but as an album, I will listen to the standard edition.
Yeah, I mean, for me, that's the thing about King Gizzard too, is a lot of the times their albums kind of have a flow to them where you don't really think of it so much as individual tracks. You think of them as, like, these extended compositions that go the whole way through. And then, I don't know, I find that the extended versions kind of break up that flow a bit.
Yeah.
Whereas the standard version, it's like, all right, we're from one track into the next track into the next track, and it flows like it tells a story. Whereas, like, this is like, all right, here's chapter 1, but we're gonna do like 30 pages of exposition that has nothing to do with the story before we go on to chapter 2.
Yeah, what I really love is on the record of the standard edition that comes with 2 bonus tracks that you actually have to move the needle over to, which is the first time I've ever seen that on a record for bonus tracks, which is such a cool idea. Because, like, the album ends and I go over to the record player, I'm like, wait, there's still like 2 songs past this point. So you lift up the needle and drop it after that, and there's 2 more tracks on it. It was so cool.
That's interesting.
Yeah, it was really, really cool. I haven't been able to find those other 2 tracks on any streaming services or even like their Bandcamps or anything like that. So I think they're like
vinyl exclusive
on the vinyl exclusive. Yeah. Cool. Let's go to Nathan then. Let's continue this train of because my video is mirrored, so I'm like, let's go around it, but it's this way. There we go. Let's go to Nathan.
For me, this is always one of the harder parts. I was gonna mention Roger Waters, but there is a good point that I kind of knew going in that wasn't going to be for me. Just it's not my style.
I love your diplomacy. It's not going to be for me. It's just like, ew.
You can say it, Nathan. It was fucking awful.
Yeah, I couldn't even get through it.
Video
really
demonetized.
Yeah.
See, sorry.
That's fine.
But to pick another one, just that I had kind of rated lowest out of the quarter, because I really liked most of the things I heard, but I thought the new Galahad record, The Long Goodbye, was a little bit weak. Maybe just the style isn't really jiving with me lately, but this neo-prog style is just not really connecting with me so much with them. And I felt a little bit of that. I think their last record before this was better, but kind of similarly disappointed. Just I'm not really getting into their stuff lately. So I don't know if it's just a me thing or just the style's not really connecting.
Yeah, no, I'm in the same boat. Like I love the first two listens that I had with The Long Goodbye, and then after that it was like a juicy fruit kind of gum where I'm chewing this big wad of plastic and I'm like, I don't have any more flavor in it. Like once I
Yeah.
got two passes with it, it just didn't connect, you know. And I felt the same way with their last album as well. Which is such a shame because like this is one of my favorite neo prog groups. They've done amazing works with like Empires Never Last. And yet they're just kind of stagnating. Like this is part of the reason why I will always applaud and encourage bands to try something new, because even if it doesn't fail, or even if it fails, it's still interesting. And unfortunately, I couldn't say that for this album.
Agreed.
Did anybody else give Galahad a spin?
I have not listened to a single second of Galahad's music, I'll be honest with you.
I would.
Where should I start?
Start with Empires Never Last. That's a
Okay,
good album.
okay. Noted.
Yeah.
I'll give that a listen. I will check that out.
Yeah. All right, Ian. What was an album that disappointed you this time around?
Oh gosh, the thing is like this quarter I've actually had quite a few where they've not necessarily been bad. Okay, like I just want to preface this obviously. Like we've all stated before, disappointment isn't necessarily, the same level as bad. Bad is bad. Disappointing is I kind of just wanted a bit more from it. So I've actually got a few, but I'm gonna sort of cherry pick off my list here. Which one do I think will get the least, rag back at me? I'm gonna go with my honest answer. I'm gonna say the new Closure in Moscow album, Soft Hell. Um, I love their first two records. They're absolutely incredible. I even loved Pink Lemonade, which was quite a divisive album when it came out. A lot of people were like, "What is going on with this? This is really weird." I thought it was neat. I thought it was really, really neat. But Soft Hell, I had such high expectations for. It was like sky high for me. I was thinking, okay, it's been a long time. The band have been working hard on this. I even really loved like anything that like the pre-release singles and all that sort of stuff. So I had really high expectations, and I did like it. I liked it. It's a good album. It really genuinely is. I gave it a reasonably favorable review back when I looked at it. But the more I've gone back to it over the course of the last like a couple of months or so, the more I just can't help but feel to myself that it's just lacking a bite. It's lacking a polish and it's lacking a staying power, which I feel that the other records do have. Because as weird as Pink Lemonade was, as unusual as it was, I felt that worked in its favor in the long run. Whereas with Soft Hell, I honestly don't see myself picking this one back up anytime soon because I just either blank over a lot of it and barely remember anything that's happened after I've listened to it a couple of times, or I just think to myself, I would rather be listening to their other records. And that is the biggest disappointment for me in that respect. It's not a bad record by any stretch of the imagination. And if you've never listened to Closure in Moscow before, you could certainly do, a lot worse than listening to Soft Hell. But I would honestly not recommend this if you're a long-term fan of the band and are expecting something genuinely groundbreaking, because for me, it just wasn't it.
Yeah, that's fair. Like Happy Days from Pink Lemonade is one of my favorite tracks of all time. Like of all
It's
time. Like
wonderful.
I
Yeah.
I consistently picture myself like performing that song on a stage, even though I'm not a musician. Like that's my go-to. If I were to perform something, that would be the one. And yeah, like I enjoyed my time with Soft Hell, like there was nothing on there that I could say was like bad, and it wasn't quite like Pink Lemonade where it's like, okay, I love these tracks and these tracks I can do without, right? Like the entirety of this album is very consistent. It's very listenable, but unlike Pink Lemonade, those high points that stick in your head, it's not there. Like there's nothing to really hold on to. So I can see where that disappointment was. So yeah, I totally understand. It's still a good album. Like I would recommend people
100%
checking it
it
out.
is. Yeah.
It's still a really good
still
album.
worth listening to. Absolutely, it is. But like we said earlier, disappointment doesn't mean bad.
Correct. And that's why I wanted to showcase these guys. Did anybody else give a spin to Soft Hell?
I've listened to it. Closure in Moscow is one of those bands like on paper I should really love, but for some reason I haven't really connected with them yet. I probably need to continue listening to especially their older records, but this one, like you guys were saying, I enjoyed. I thought it was good, but didn't really rise up to like meet some of the better releases of the year. So, pleasant listen, but nothing really grabbed me like to be super special.
Yeah, that's totally fair. And like I said, this is a good starting point. I would probably start with their first record. I think their first record is still probably their best.
Definitely it is.
Yeah. Cool. Brent, what was a disappointment for the last quarter of 2023 for you?
In album called The Clockwork Man by This Winter Machine.
Oh, I forgot they put that out. You're right.
This is their fourth album, and
wow,
it's good, but it sounds too much like the previous three.
Yeah.
It's disappointment. It's not bad by any means. It just doesn't elevate them to where they should be, or where I think they should be. But I do encourage everybody to check it out. It's worth listening to.
Yeah, I completely forgot that album came out.
Yeah.
And I gave it in a couple spins. It was just like nothing really retained for me. But yeah, great pick.
I've seen the cover doing the rounds, like in my usual sort
That's
of
a cool cover too.
Oh yeah,
like
definitely. The cover on that is amazing. It's really striking. I love it. See, I might actually love this record because it's got it's not just got circles; it's got multiple circles.
It's got multiple circles.
So surely we're compounding on this. So I've got to love it as a result, obviously.
That's right. Oh my gosh, that's hilarious. So I'll round out my bit. We had already, like, my big disappointment was Galahad. One that was actually talked about in the best section for me. And again, it's not a bad album. It was just one that I was hoping for. And that is my hope that one day Pattern Seeking Animals will put out an album that I truly will enjoy and love. And up to this point, I still haven't had that album from them. You know, I see the potential because, again, on paper, I should love this. It's the Spock's Beard 2.0 with some legacy songwriters and performers in the band. And outside of Prehensile Tales, like, no album from them really stuck with me. You know, like only passing through and their self-titled debut album are fine. You know, it's fine, fun prog rock. And I was just hoping that this would be the one, you know, and I know that's maybe unfair based on how I received their first three albums, but I was like, this one's going to be the one. This one's going to be the one that's going to convert me. And it just didn't. It was another fine record. And I think, once again, it's a band that knows what they do well and sticks to that and doesn't really move from their lane in that case. And maybe it's just, yeah, it's a fine record, but I was really hoping this would be the one that would convert me to the PSA fan base. And I'm still on the outside looking in, I suppose. So.
It's on my list for this as well. It's just, do I want to say it? No. Oh, no. But for much the same reason as yourself notes, it's very much a case of I like Pattern Seeking Animals. I just don't love Pattern Seeking Animals. You know, I've not disliked a single record of theirs. I like all of their records. I like Spooky Action at a Distance. I've only listened to it a few times, but I didn't dislike anything I heard on it. But there's always just been one tiny little thing sort of worming away at the back of my cranium every time I listen to Pattern Seeking Animals, and that's kind of like, I should just be listening to Spock's Beard instead, you know? Which, I mean, maybe that's just really regressive of me to just think to myself, I'm going to listen to the music from back in my day when I used to like it all, and it was all better when I was young, blah, 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 blah. I'm going to listen to The Light 17 times in a row, sort of thing. You know? But, I mean, I have listened to that record like 5 times in a row before, so, you know, it's one of the greatest records of all time. Love that album. But no, I did enjoy this record. You know, I walked away from this positively. But again, much like yourself, it wasn't the record that made me think, oh yeah, Pattern Seeking Animals, it's on, you know? They will always be a band I will always listen to, you know? I will always check them out when they have something new, but it's more one of those cases where I have yet to find the album which makes me think of picking them above picking what the guys in the band have done previously.
Yeah. Yeah.
Having said that, I believe it's their best to date.
I think I will agree with that, actually, yeah.
I still feel like it's, you know, we could be putting out something a little bit different.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah,
I guess I'm the dissenting opinion.
No, that's good. That's good.
That's why we have you on here.
Exactly. Well, we like having all these different opinions.
I've never listened to a full album of theirs, but yeah, everything I've ever heard of theirs, like anytime I've like checked out a video on YouTube or whatever, I feel the same way. It's like, on paper, this is a really great band, you know, a lot of really good prog, but I don't know. I never come away from it feeling like, wow, I really need to deep dive their discography and become a massive fanboy. Just like, hey, it's good stuff, but it doesn't.
Lifeboat of
Yeah.
Prehensile Tales. That's a tune.
Yes.
That's really good.
Yes,
That's an
I agree.
amazing song. I love
That's
that.
why I come back to Prehensile Tales.
Yeah.
I mean, it's something to say about this past quarter where the Pattern Seeking Animals for me and Galahad were the two albums that I was most disappointed over. Like, just how good this past quarter was, when those were the two albums that I was like, I guess those are the two ones that are most disappointed in if I had to choose. All right, really quick, was there any other bands or albums rather that came out in the past quarter that we were a little disappointed with? Oh, really? Okay, I'm so
Don't
sorry.
hurt me. I found it didn't improve anything from the first one. It didn't go anywhere with it, and which is fine. But I was kind of expecting a step up from their debut. And I don't like the name of the album, Sophomore. I think it's kind of silly, but
Which
I
one's
like
that?
how
Sorry.
Flying Circles does that with their
The
name.
Virgilia Morrison Jennings.
Yeah, for anybody that didn't see, it was Neil Moore. What is it? Morse
The
Virgilio
Virgilia
Jennings.
Morrison. The
Yeah.
MJ.
That's the one. I always my dyslexia keeps moving them around. I swear it's not order of importance. It's I swear it's
also, it would be M at the first if it was.
Considering the three performers on it, it sounds like a band that I should really be into. And
it's a lot of fun, but
I mean,
it is.
My close friend Shane, who's done some work with me and Notes in the past, he's a big fan of Haken, Neil Morse, and so all that, and you would think, okay, he would be and he's a big fan of folk music. You would think he'd be all about this, but even he's a little kind of on the band.
Like, here's what I say. Like, I love the individuals that are playing on it, and the music that they are producing is the top-notch style of this music. I'm just not a big fan of that style of music. Like, I am not the biggest fan of Crosby, Stills and Nash. I'm not a big fan of that style. I'll listen to it, and like if somebody puts this on, I'm not running to the stereo to turn it off, but it wouldn't necessarily be my choice. Kitty. Oh, surprise kitty. Hello.
Kitty. Oh my
Sorry, surprise kitty. I had to stop. So yeah, it's a fine record, and I love the fact that Ross James is getting a little bit more time on it, because I think his tracks were the ones that I love the most. But yeah, I wouldn't necessarily say this is a disappointment. It's just like, yeah, it's fine. I love that they're loving what they're doing, just not necessarily for me.
Yeah, I have my Spock's Beard Neil Morse bias, so I need to like shift my scale probably a little bit, because I really love this record. I really love the Pattern Seeking Animals, but just my preference as a super fan.
Yeah, and I can understand why people would love this record, right? Like, it's one of those that, like, I see why people love this.
Yeah, I don't want to take anything away from people who do love this record, because I must admit it's another one of my disappointments of the quarter. But that again is not to say that I didn't enjoy my time with it. I just do feel that Troika was the better record, because I felt it was fresher. I thought it was more interesting. I thought it was a bit more like these guys are figuring out what they want to do and they're having an amazing time with it. And I just thought maybe Sophomore was them just feeling a little bit more comfortable, maybe a little bit too comfortable with the sounds that they want to do with it. And I'm honestly not sure we need whatever the equivalent of a third record is in the names of like debut, Sophomore, and then whatever
continuation or something,
trio, whatever, or triple, or whatever, I'm just not sure we need it, tertiary, we go, we'll go with that, tertiary by DMJ, there we go. I'm just not sure we need that, I like that the guys are having a good time. They're clearly enjoying themselves on the record, and I feel that energy from them on Sophomore, and it's a lot of fun. But I just don't think that there's much more they can really explore with this style of music that will really be of any benefit to actually have it recorded, other than like maybe a live jam session or something like that.
I would love,
as long as they're having fun, right?
I mean, yeah, exactly, right? I mean, it's music. What is music about if not enjoying yourself,
Exactly, yeah. Cool. Any other disappointments from the round table? All right, let's move on to those then that most surprised us. These are records that maybe we came in with a little bit lower expectations, and they more than met them, or albums that just kind of came out of nowhere that we didn't expect. Let's continue the trend. We'll start with Travis and then we'll just go around. And I finally got it. It's this way.
I don't know that there were any records I've listened to this quarter that really surprised me. Like everything I've listened to this quarter more or less kind of met my expectations. Maybe the biggest surprise that I had was probably that King Gizzard record. Like, I know that there was a lot of talk about it being more on the electronic side, like Butterfly 3000, but I wasn't really expecting them to go like full old school Kraftwerk or, like, I guess synth pop kind of vibes. I wasn't really expecting that. But then again, it's King Gizzard. You never really know 100% what to expect. So, yeah, that would be probably one of the only surprises I really felt all quarter. Everything else, like, either met my expectations or just I was already anticipating hearing it, and I already knew what I was in for. So, yeah, it takes a lot to surprise me.
Okay, no, that's fair. That's fair, and that was a good album. Nathan, what was one that surprised you?
Yeah, I'm going to talk about a debut album that really something I didn't expect. It's Press to Enter and their album From Mirror to Road. Just came out of nowhere and just really blew me away. It was just really great prog metal, but with like kind of an 80s tinge to it and female vocals, and just really catchy and really fun, and just a lot of good bangers on that album that just continued to delight me to listen to. So just a really fun record that kind of came out of nowhere.
I'm glad I don't need to talk about that one now, because that was on my list as well. I love it so much. I love it.
Yeah, they gave me an early access stream, and
same.
I'm like, this is exactly what I was hoping for. This is amazing. I just wish that there wasn't so much that came out in this quarter that I wasn't able to talk about it before it came out. But yeah, it was just, and we had so many debut prog metal records.
Didn't we just?
So
good.
And I'm saddened that this one was a little bit lost to the wayside in terms of the prog metal debuts, but such a great album.
They seem like such lovely people as well.
Oh yeah.
I just gave it the old green check mark on Spotify for listening.
Yeah. I think you'll get a kick out of it, Travis. It's a lot of fun. It's
I'm sure.
Because it's like they sort of approached me out of nowhere. It's like, hey, do you want to like check out our record, maybe review it? And I was like, okay, it's promo, I'll click it. And I was like, ooh, I like this. I was like, oh yes, this is doing something for me. I loved it. I think it ended up like number 10 in my top 15 of the year. So, and I put it above some like pretty heavy hitting records as well. So I really loved it. I absolutely fell in love with this one so much. And yeah, I'm really glad that it got mentioned on this video.
Yeah. Great. Ian, what's an album that surprised you?
Ooh, so I know I don't need to do press to enter anymore, so I can sort of move that off to the side. So which means I get to talk about something else instead, which is always lovely. The record I'm going to choose is a proof of concept that Twitter can sometimes be a good thing. I'm amazing, I know. I'm just as surprised as the rest of you. No, I remember seeing like a random tweet from somebody in my like the For You thing. So not even anybody I'm following, and it was just like picture of this record on the turntable with a brief synopsis of it, and I thought, that sounds banger. I'm gonna check that out. It is Creeper with Sanguivore, which is a UK-based sort of kind of Ghost-like band. They're kind of like Ghost, a lot like Ghost, actually. In fact, in some ways, I actually kind of prefer this to This Heathen Land by Greenlung. Yeah, it's that vibe. It's that sort of thing. Imagine taking like the druidic sort of nature of that and swapping it for sexy gothic vampires in a neon lit nightclub, and that's kind of Sanguivore. It's absolutely delicious. It is such a bop of a record. Everything is like this incredible melange of brilliant melodies, crunching guitars, weird synthy keyboard sections, and just the greatest sense of fun. It is so entertaining, so effortlessly easy to listen to, and I just cannot stop spinning it. Like from one listen, I was like, oh, good Lord, I love this. This is so, so good. Like I have got like some of the choruses will not leave my brain. They are just embedded there for like the rest of time, and it's just I cannot get enough of it. It's such a good record, and I really want more people to listen to it because I'm just like, please, I need people to know about this band. They're so good, you know.
Amazing.
So, yeah,
This sounds
love it.
exactly up my alley.
Oh,
So
you will adore it. I assure
amazing.
you. It's so
Amazing.
you.
I
It is
haven't
so
heard
you.
this before, so
Yeah.
I've saved it to my Spotify, and after this, I'm listening to it.
You will get such a blast out of this record. It's
Oh,
just
I'm so excited.
I love it.
Barely a hint of a circle on the album cover.
I
Yeah,
know.
sort of. I kind of with like the moon in the background. Yeah, yeah. Maybe that's what influenced me to click on it in the first place. You know, it wasn't a
Yeah.
description of it being Ghost meets Depeche Mode. It's got nothing to do with that whatsoever. It was all about the circle on the album. You know?
Oh man, I'm
I'm
excited
weak.
for that.
That's too funny.
Okay, cool. Brent, what was one that what surprised you?
This one has a big circle on it too.
Ooh.
Oh, I know
Ooh.
this one. Is that
Glass
Glass
Hammer,
Hammer?
isn't
The
it?
Rise,
Yeah.
Glass Hammer.
Glass Hammer. I really enjoyed this album,
Please.
especially the bass work on it.
Hmm.
Really good.
I'm listening.
Oh, check it out. It's pretty good.
Yeah,
It's got
my
a
only
really early Black Sabbath doomy kind of feel
I
to
love
it. So
that.
it's good. Yeah,
I
check
love
it out.
that. Yeah, my only issue with Glass Hammer is they don't release anything on streaming. You literally
Yes.
have to buy it, and I'm like,
Mhm.
oh man, I only have so much funds and so much time, guys.
That's it. That's
Yeah.
it.
You
Do
know,
they
but
stream
maybe
on,
I'll check it out.
do they stream on Bandcamp at all? Or
I don't
Might be
even know if they
Bandcamp.
released the whole thing on YouTube, to tell you the truth, either.
Ooh,
Yeah.
interesting. Like,
So
Certainly somebody has.
I'm
Not that
sure.
Not that we encourage piracy.
Not
I was gonna
somebody
say I'm just gonna
here.
put on my captain's hat and then slowly. No, you should support artists, support bands. And artists.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Buy their
Oh, you
music.
need? Come on.
Yeah, after you give it an initial listen, though, right? It's like I
Oh,
want
it
to
is
at
on
least
Bandcamp.
know.
You can stream it
Okay,
on
okay.
Bandcamp, so it's
Okay.
there.
Woohoo!
So
Oh, good.
yeah,
That's
I'm
good.
gonna have to
So I
check
can
this
at
one out
least-
definitely because that album art is so freaking good. That's so cool. I love
That's
it.
cool.
Yeah.
Glass
very,
Hammer is
like-
one of those bands that's perpetually been on my to-do list.
Same.
Yeah.
Well, they're all over the damn place too. That's what I like about them.
Oh yeah, I'm definitely checking this one out. This looks really good.
Again, this is why we do it, right? This is why I have these things to
definitely.
see, like, what did I miss? So in terms of my most surprising, we've already touched upon two. Temic was my most surprising. I didn't expect it to be as good as it was. And same with Earthside. Again, didn't expect it to be as good as it was going in. But because we've already talked about those, I'm going to leave those over to the side. I'm going to talk about Maria's Duda and his solo record of the year, which was Afraid, which is kind of a counter to the Identity that Riverside put out at the very beginning of this year. I felt like this record was a little bit more streamlined. Like I loved Afraid, but I also felt like it was a little all over the place. I think it was just a little too experimental, and it didn't really have like a very, very clear image. Whereas Afraid definitely had that image. Like it's very ethereal, it's very noise rock, it's very like what's the actual term for it? Like not necessarily noise rock, but like almost new agey. The word's escaping me. But I loved it. I loved putting this guy on, and unlike a lot of this style of music that can get a little too intangible, this one always kept its focus. It always kept its eye on the prize, and I really, really appreciated that. So yeah, this was one that I was very surprised over. And I really shouldn't have been, because Maria's always does amazing things, whether it's with Riverside, whether it's with Lunatic Soul, or whether it's with this kind of side project that is a lot more experimental sound rock. Yeah, I absolutely love this record.
Yeah,
I'll have to
Anybody
check that
check
one
it
out.
out?
Yeah, I'll have to check into that.
Yeah, I almost feel a little bit like Riverside kind of got like lost in the wayside this year with all these other really great releases, because I don't remember us really talking about Riverside much at all.
It was quite early in the year in 2023.
Yeah, it was
Yeah, it
quite
was like
early.
January or February.
Yeah.
I actually
That's always
remember
the problem with that sort of time of year. It's like sometimes they get lost by the end of the year, and it's just like, ooh.
Yeah, I remember it being like the first release of 2023 that I really dug into. But I haven't heard this one yet, and I think I'm gonna have to, because even though we didn't really talk much about Riverside throughout the year, I did enjoy that record, so maybe I'll have to give Marius a spin.
Yeah, he was promoting this one as like the counter album to it, whereas like Afraid was very colorful, very bright, and very like kind of all over the place. This one was very gradient. It was very dark. It was very like grayscale. And you definitely feel that this is a companion album to it.
And I mean, I feel like the companionship is in, like, it's shown in how, like, the ID entity instead of just identity, and then this one's Afraid AID. So it feels like I don't know anything about the lyrics of this record, but I feel like, okay, there's already a theme going on here. Probably
he's not very
touching on
subtle about
some
it.
Technology is bad,
temporary
okay?
issues.
It's true. It's like where's the self in this new this new technology? You know, it's not very subtle, but it's also very good. Oh boy,
I'll look into that one definitely, because I've always enjoyed his stuff, especially like with Lunatic Soul. Lunatic Soul's
Yeah,
amazing.
exactly.
So yeah,
yeah. The last
I'll look
album that he
into
put out with Lunatic Soul, Through Shaded
Oh,
Woods,
yeah.
was one of my favorite records of that year.
Fantastic
So
record.
good.
Love that one.
Amazing. All right. Any other surprises before we get into those albums that we're really looking forward to within the next quarter? I have one to kind of start the ball rolling, which was the new Andre 3000 record. Who would have
I've
thought
heard
the guy
about
that
this
gave
one.
us who would have thought that the guy that helped give us Hey Ya would give us a
Yeah.
flute jazz prog album, you know? I've been loving this one. It's very ethereal, you know, it's very ambient, you know, it's an ambient album in the same vein that like Snuggles was from Devin Townsend. This is just fun to put on and have in the background when you just need some good vibes. You know,
It's been on my list for a little while to check into it, because it does like sound like the sort of thing I'd probably quite enjoy.
Yeah. I don't know. The little bit of Outcast I've heard in my life, I've always felt like they were a little bit more prog forward in the hip hop world than maybe some other artists in their genre were. So it doesn't surprise me too much that Andre's got this weird flute fusion jazz kind of thing going on. I haven't checked it out yet, but it sounds like an absolute romp. So I'm gonna have to keep my ears peeled for that one.
It's a lot of fun. It really helped me. I participated in NaNoWriMo this year, the National Writing
Nice
Month, and I was able to get my manuscript done, and a lot of that was helped by this record. So
amazing. Love that.
Yeah. Amazing. Any other surprises that came out this year? Or I guess this quarter, past quarter.
I have a couple late entries that Rubber Tea is the name of the group, from A Fading World. I really enjoyed this, a kind of a jazzier, maybe psych kind of record, but really cool female vocals, just a good solid record. And I really like the 20 Committee, The Cycle Undone, which came out really late, but it was really good. A little bit, you know, Neil Moore's symphonic prog kind of vibe, maybe a bit of jazz fusion and some of the like keyboard playing, and it features Annie Haslam on a track from Renaissance. So cool stuff. Those are two records I've really liked at the end of the year.
I've been bopping both of those as well since you recommended them, and I've been thoroughly enjoying both as well. So yeah, good shout on those.
Yeah.
Any other ones?
My surprise is something most people won't like.
Oh, let's go. Let's go. I love them.
Because I unashamedly live my life on the dirty side of metal, where everything's disgusting and grim, and I love it. Afterbirth with In But Not Of gets my vote for surprise of the... It was one of those records where Afterbirth had been around for a little while. It'd been a while since we had new material from them, and I never really knew much about them. Then a lot of buzz started coming out of this record. I'm like, okay, what's going on? Let's press play. And I'm like, ooh! You know, I was like, whoa, what is going on? It's like the most violent, disgusting, just virulent sounding metal I've heard in so long. But as disgusting as it is, I kept on delving deeper, and I was like, do you know what? Amidst the muck, it's really, really good. It's so well written. It's so well produced. It's so just, oh, it just makes you feel just, bleh. And that's the whole point of it. It's one of those gnarly, disgusting, filthy records. And I'm just like, oh, I just want to stank face and crab pit mosh to this until the end of time. It's so good. It is so good. It is like nothing that Nathan would enjoy at all. It's just like, I'd put this on and Nathan would be like, screw this, I'm jumping out the window, you know. Defenestration is the better
Remind me
option
of
than
this
listening
when
to
it
this
comes
record.
out.
It's so amazing.
Remind me of this when it comes out, because I didn't think I would like anything black metal. I'm not a big black metal guy, but the Amun,
that's
Amun, that recommendation, and I was mesmerized by that record. So who knows? Maybe Afterbirth is
give it a listen. It's been out for a few months now. Super lovely guys as well, because I speak to them on Twitter every now and again. They're really nice, really friendly, and it's just like, your music is so disgusting, but you're so nice. I don't understand. It's like, what's going on? But no, it's a great record if you just want to feel like you want to just breathe in smoke and just love it. Have a lot of fun with this one.
Amazing.
all right.
Yeah, I've written that one down to check out as well, because that sounds very up my alley. I love it. Yeah, if an album makes me want to take a shower afterwards, then I know it's good.
It will. You will never feel clean again after this record. Yeah. You will never feel clean. It's so much. It's so good for that.
That's great.
I'm in danger.
It's like Ralph Wiggum sat on the bus. You know?
Oh boy. Any other surprises that came on, and then we'll move on to those that we're excited for in these next few months here. All right, let's talk about those that we are excited for. Those that are coming out in January, February, and March. I know I already released a video on the ones, so these won't be, and I know that we all did as well, but let's narrow it down for like the album that we're most excited for. Let's continue the train and start with Travis over on our
this is a tough pick, because I'm looking at our Google Doc about this, and there's like 3 or 4 records that are standing out to me already. The one that I've already been anticipating is the new Caligula's Horse, Charcoal Grace. The 3 songs that have been released from it so far are pretty decent, and I'd mentioned this in chat a while ago, but one of the things that kind of drew me in was I had read a great interview with Sam Vallon, their guitar player, just talking about like his writing process for the record, how he sort of incorporated a Steely Dan influence into the record as he was writing like an academic dissertation on that band. And like when he realized that like there was complexity within the simplicity of their music, and how it kind of translated to what Caligula's Horse's music is like, because it's complex, but it's still very simple in its structures, and it's not like listening to like the Dance of Eternity 30 times in a row. There's still like very strong melodies, and I feel like I really like that ethos. It's kind of the ethos I take in my own songwriting when I write music, is I like to have strong melodies. I like to have something people can sink their teeth into, even like have memorize and sing along with, but I still like to have that underlying bit of complexity. And I think that's why Caligula's Horse probably appeals to me so much, is you get the best of both worlds with that. And I really feel like I understand their music a little bit better now that I've read that interview, and going back to the 3 singles that they've put out. I'm hearing it now, and I'm really clicking with these singles, so I'm really looking forward to Charcoal Grace. That's going to be a fun one.
I'm lucky enough to have a advanced copy of it to help to review it, and it's pretty good. It's pretty good.
I will take your word for it.
As long as it's better than Rise Radiant, I didn't vibe Rise Radiant like much.
It was fine.
I gave that one a listen the other day, and it's good.
In Contact is
not in Contact.
Better. Oh my god, I love that record so much. Oh my god. Oh,
Songs for No One is still like my theme song.
It's just I love In Contact so much. It's so good.
Oh,
Like,
boy.
oh, it's great. Isn't it Graves, the 17-minute track at the end of it? Is it Graves? I think it's
Graves, yeah.
So,
Yeah. Oh god, it's so good.
Oh,
Incredible.
boy.
Love it.
Amazing. Nathan, what's one that you're excited for?
Knowing my bias, it just came out yesterday. This
Yay!
one,
Hey,
the
there he
restoration,
is.
Joseph
Oh,
Part 2
yes.
from Neil Morse. Yeah, just
Yeah.
absolutely loving it. I think
Yep.
it's great. I think it improves upon Part 1 and is just a really fun Neil Morse record. So I'm excited to talk more about it in an upcoming review. And
Same.
I hope it
So-
doesn't like fall by the wayside because it came out so early in the year.
Yeah.
Because I think it's going to be one of the standout releases for this year.
It's
I
fantastic.
actually am anticipating listening to that one because I haven't heard it yet. How many overtures are on it?
Just one,
There-
actually. And it's not even the first
Ah.
track.
Damn.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's true.
But there is still a track called Overture on it. Well, it's
Okay.
Overture reprise.
But hey, you know,
you know.
it's not a Neil Morse without an overture.
Exactly. He's like, he was busy writing the song title. It's like, oh, God, I forgot to put Overture in there. Quick, put it in the middle.
I love at the beginning of Cosmic Mess how you hear the B again, and all of a sudden you
Yeah,
hear
I love
yeah.
that. And he's like, that made me
Love
laugh.
that. Love that.
Yeah, I've been absolutely vibing the absolute bejesus out of this record. I love it so much. I cannot stop listening to it. It only came out on like Friday, but I was able to listen to it on Thursday via pretending I'm somewhere else in the world. But no, I love it. It's fantastic. It's quite a long record, but you know, it's Neil Morse. He knows what he's doing. It's so much fun. I don't really have much to complain about other than that you kind of need to be more familiar with part 1 really to get the best out of it. Got my review probably coming tomorrow, Monday, Tuesday, whenever I'm not packing boxes. But yeah, it's great. Love it.
Yeah, it set the bar for 2024 pretty high.
It has.
So, yeah.
Thinking I might marathon part 1 and part 2 to
do it.
introduce myself to part
Yeah.
2. So
That's a good idea.
Yeah, that's what I did. I spent Thursday listening to part 1 and then Friday morning listened part 1 and then went straight into part 2. And I think that's the best way to listen to it.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Ian, what's an album that you're excited for?
Well, I was going to go with Caligula Thoughts, but somebody took that from me. Fine. It's fine. I'll allow it. It's fine because my pick is probably one that nobody else is actually going to pick. I was tempted to pick one that I think Nathan's likely going to pick, but they've already been and had their turn. So, no, I'm going to go with the one that's more me. Iisan's self-titled record, which is coming out in February, I'm pretty sure. Love Iisan. Very much a case of he's broken away from the sort of black metal roots that he had with Emperor to forge something incredibly creative, very avant-garde, very unusual, and kind of defies description amongst anything else. Like some of the records he's put out are just so unusual, like Das Seelenbriefe, whatever it's called, I can't remember. Das Seal, I just call it the Seal because it sounds like that. But that's a really great experimental record. And then you've got really solid, dependable things like Eremita, Angle, and After. And then you've got obviously Arctis, which came out in 2016, which is a really great prog metal album. But this new one, his self-titled one, it feels like it's really cool because he's releasing 2 versions of it. You know, it's going back to the whole 2 versions thing. And one of them is the traditional sort of like heavy metal, black metal, proggy metal kind of thing that's going on. But then you've got a completely different version of the album, which is just a fully orchestrated arrangement version of it, like film soundtrack versions of each of the songs. And there's been 2 singles that have come out from this record so far, and he's released both versions of each track. And hearing the sort of cinematic version with nothing but an orchestra playing it, it's so cool. It is so cool. And he's really sort of bringing that vibe into the main body of the track. So you've got this really grand, broad, dark, black and symphonic progressive metal going on with his usual banshee screams. And it's so good. If it's based off the singles alone, this could very easily be a top 5 of the year for me. Because I've always loved Iisan, and hearing this, it feels like him, he's like, you know, height of his power stuff coming, and I just cannot wait for this one. I'm so excited.
That sounds great. I haven't heard about this band before, so now I'm excited for it.
Oh, Iisan was effectively Lepros's sugar daddy for a little while.
Okay.
Yeah. They used to be like I don't want to say like his backup band or anything like that, but Iisan and Lepros are very much you know, intertwined with each other because he kind of it's kind of like whoever it was that found Justin Bieber, kind of that deal. It's like that sort of relationship between them.
and prior to his being a solo artist, Yeah,
Yeah,
prior to being a solo artist, he was the frontman for black metal band Emperor.
and they are like one of the OG
Oh.
greatest black metal bands of all time, sort of thing. But
Absolutely.
he's very much become his
One of the
own
few
entity.
exceptions to my black metal rule.
There we go. I would say, if you're not sure where to start, check out Arctis, because you will hear the track Celestial Violence, which features Einar Solberg on vocals as well. And oh my god, that's a tune. That is such a tune. But the whole record of Arctis and Eremita, I would say, are probably your best bets to start off with. They're incredible records, and I'm so hyped for this self-titled release. I cannot wait.
I will check that out. It's very exciting. All right, Brent, what's an album you're looking forward to in the next 3 months?
Well, I'm going to start with Kigaligia's Horse. I've never been into this band, but the two singles I've heard, the Storm Chaser and Golem, kind of wanted me to check out this album and check the rest of their discography out. Big
Contact is a
Train
brilliant record.
Oh yeah.
and Steve Hackett. I like the new single he released, Watch
Yeah.
of the Skies. Or not Watch of the Skies, People of the Smoke, sorry.
Yeah, it's
Easy
noun
mistake to
and
make.
verb, so
Yeah.
yeah,
So
I'm
that'll be
excited
my
for those
three.
ones as well. Yeah, I cannot wait for the new Steve Hackett. We don't, luckily for a lot of these, we don't have to wait too long.
No.
No.
So yeah, I mean, I think for the Steve Hackett record, it's the first concept record he's written in a while. So I'm pretty excited about that.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. So I have a handful of ones that I'm really excited for, but I had to whittle it down to just one to introduce. And it's one that on the one hand doesn't fit the mold for any of our shows, but it's also one that I absolutely adore in terms of their band, and I've spent the last 2 weeks diving back into all their discography, and that is Ninja Sex Party with their album of These Nuts. I cannot wait for this thing to drop. The Prophecy from 2020 starts off with a 12-minute epic, and all the tracks on there is just amazing. It's so much of like my personality, where it's fun, it's very like tongue-in-cheek, it's very silly, but underneath it all is some outstanding and amazing actual music. They've put out 3 covers albums, and they're able to replicate what I love about songs like Subdivisions from Rush or Misunderstanding from Genesis. Everybody Wants to Rule the World, like, so they're able to reproduce some of these outstanding tracks in a very serious mode while also writing about dinosaur dicks, like this. I am so very excited. The first single that was dropped off of These Nuts is like, Let's Save the Planet. And it's essentially all about, hey, the environment's dying and your mom is really into environmentalism, so let's save the planet so I can bone her,
I have a friend from like an old anime forum I used to be on, like when I was a teenager, who is absolutely obsessed with that band. So
yeah,
I'm familiar with them. I think maybe I'm thinking of a different band, but I think they did something like a tour or a split or something with the Proto Men, which is a band I really love. And Ninja Sex Party.
Yeah, their backup band is Twerp. So if anybody knows Twerp,
right,
their backup band.
That's why I was.
Tour.
That's
and
why
Twerp has
I
worked
had that
with
Proto Men. Yeah.
Yeah, so fantastic music. I cannot wait. That's my most anticipated record.
I think I put it on my radar after that glowing write-up. I'm just like, okay, I think I'm looking forward to this album now as well.
Yeah. Yeah, and so like really quickly, in terms of those other records that I'm excited for, I mean, there's the new Pineapple Thief that I'm hoping will get me back on the Pineapple Thief train of It Leads to This. The Smile sophomore record of Wall of Eyes.
Great.
The new Big Train record drops at the very beginning of March. And Ian, I'm surprised that you didn't say Duck from Aristocrats.
Oh, I was saving myself for this moment. Yeah, I'm extremely excited for the Aristocrats' new record, Duck, not just because it's the Aristocrats, who are incredible musicians, obviously, you know, all three of them. They're one of the rare instrumental bands who can hold my attention, but now they've got a record called Duck, and I just feel entirely called out by this. For anybody who doesn't know, I am a massive, like, screeching fanboy of any kind of Disney Duck. So Scrooge McDuck, Donald Duck, you know, the nephews, Huey, Dewey, and Louie, everything Duck related. It's my jam. I have more memorabilia than I know what to do with. It's probably my second biggest love outside of progressive rock. So now I get to combine the two, which is wonderful. So yeah, I'm very excited for that record and can't wait for that. But apart from that, is one I'm certain Nathan is also looking forward to as well, is the new Dirt Poor Robins album, which I cannot wait for.
Me
Yep.
too.
Yep, and I will point the finger at this man for introducing me to this band, and I absolutely love them, and I'm really excited for the new record.
Oh yeah, can't wait. It's going to be amazing.
Heck yeah, it is. I can't wait.
Yeah. Any other ones that I didn't touch upon that are confirmed? Because there's a lot in the whispers, but
I've got a couple. Or at least a couple. Whom Gods Destroy, aka Grandsons of Apollo. The first single dropped a couple days ago, or just yesterday, and that's for those who don't know, that's Derek Sherinian and Bumblefoot's continuation of Sons of Apollo without Mike Portnoy. It's a new rhythm section. I don't remember the names of the bassist drummer, but it's Dino. I can't pronounce his last name, like Yelisuk or something like that, on vocals, which I was a little disappointed it wasn't Jeff Scott Soto, because he seemed like he was like a little crestfallen about the whole Sons of Apollo not continuing thing. Like he really wanted to keep going.
Allen in.
Oh man,
Russell Allen.
Oh, and I mean, I really liked the first Sons of Apollo record. The second one was okay, but it sounds like Whom Gods Destroy is kind of going back to the vibe of the first record. It's a little more nuts and a little more proggy, and not quite as like I found the second record just kind of focused a little too much on like the cock rock kind of where
Banking.
yeah, without the prog influence, it just didn't feel proggy enough. It felt like a generic hard rock record.
You know what this reminds me of? It reminds me when Adrenaline Mob was first a thing, and I can remember ages and ages ago on Last.fm, I was the person who basically tagged it for the first time with Midlife Crisis Metal, and it really took off, and it's one of like the biggest trending tags on that band at the moment, and I stand by that.
Yeah,
I'm really hoping that, because I'll be honest, I'm looking forward to Whom Gods Destroy, but I look at the album.
I'm anticipating that
I'm like,
it might end up being like the first disappointment of our Q1.
Possibly, because it might be one of these cases of too many good cooks, you know.
That single has me hyped, and
it's hoping. I haven't listened to it yet, I'll be honest with you. But
the other one I'm looking forward to is North Sea Echoes, really good terrible things. That's a project from Ray Alder and Jim Mathios from Fates Warning. I am a massive Fates Warning fan, so I will absolutely want to check this out. Although I'm disappointed that it's not a Arch Mathios album, because that would fill my heart. But I'll listen to North Sea Echoes. It sounds like it's going to be a little bit maybe more on an ambient, like softer kind of vibe than Fates. But I don't know. I found with the last few Fates Warning albums, they kind of went into like this direction where everything started to kind of sound the same. So I'm excited to hear maybe something a little different that features Jim and Ray together. Yeah, that one sounds exciting to me.
That's great. Brent, was there any other ones that you were excited for?
No, not that I've heard about anyways. I think we've covered the gamut pretty good.
Yeah, I think we covered it all. So with that, I think we'll bring this little chat to a close. Thank you everybody for tuning in, and thanks to our panelists for giving me 6 albums now to go back and listen to.
That's
this is
it?
why I do it. That's it for me this time. So we'll see everybody again in the first quarter of 2024. But until then, thank you everybody for tuning in and watching, and we'll catch you in the next one. So notes and everybody around here, we are out.
See you guys.
Take care, everyone.
Have a good day.